everyone, One Big Boss here, and as you can tell by the title of the video that you clicked on, we're talking Resident Evil, but more specifically, we're talking about the Separate Ways DLC that has just recently come out, and quite honestly, it's probably the best DLC for almost any game that I have ever played. There have been tons of great DLCs throughout the years, some good, like I said, and there's been some really terrible ones that, you gotta stop and think, what were they thinking when they made this kind of stuff, right? But Separate Ways had me very much hyped because the original Separate Ways was kind of a good mode when we got it on the PlayStation 2 version of Resident Evil 4. And that was like one of the big draws of that selling point for that game, was the fact that there was going to be a brand new mode for Ada, which is funny because she already got her own mode in the GameCube version called Assignment Ada, even though that mode wasn't really that fun to me. I didn't really care for it that much. I think I played it maybe 2-3 times throughout my life, but I never really went back to ever play it much after, I think, the PS2 era. But I was really excited for this because in my mind, I thought, wow, okay, so they never officially announced it, but everybody was speculating that it was going to be real. And then people were reporting on leaks about it, and then it turned out to be true that people like data mined and they found stuff. So everybody assumed that Separate Ways was going to happen. And I'm glad it did, because to be honest, when you really look at this game, it is damn perfect. And for $10, you get more than what you pay for, in my personal opinion. There were a lot of people online who just kept complaining and bitching and moaning that this was all too much money and that this shouldn't have been a DLC. This should have been included in the main game. And the fact that we have to pay $10 for it is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I know some of you weren't there back in the day, even though a lot of you claim that you were, but clearly you don't remember the fact that if you wanted the PlayStation 2 version, you had to pay a whole nother $50 for that damn thing. Okay, just to get some new weapons, new outfits, and obviously you would get Separate Ways. But here's the thing, the PS2 version wasn't the greatest version of Resident Evil 4, unfortunately. That one had a lot of problems, and we all know it. Look up any review on the game or anybody that talks about the differences between the Resident Evil 4, of GameCube, PS2, PS4, PS3, Xbox. So any version of it and everything, you're gonna see the difference if it's captured the right way anyway. But I really love this because they did such a great job at expanding the lore of characters and giving characters more time on screen. This is something that I truly loved when it came to this game. Ada was absolutely phenomenal in this, and people have been asking me how I felt about Lily Gal's performance in this, and I think she's a lot better than she was in the main story. I don't know if they filmed this during the original Resident Evil 4 at the time. I'm not exactly 100% sure if they did, but I gotta say, I really did enjoy her performance for the most part. There are a lot of other problems with her performance, and again, I don't think she's a bad actress. I just think it's kind of the wrong direction for some of the takes that she took, because if you ever know anything about voice acting, well, there's multiple takes. Even if you think you got the good take, you still do 1 to 2 more just to be safe. And some places are very meticulous to where you're continuously doing voiceover over and over and over for hours on end. And again, I don't think she was terrible at this. I think it was pretty good. Very good compared to the last iteration of her that we got. And her partnership with Luis and trying to get him out of there and to get the amber from him. And their relationship was great, especially like the weird tango dancing they were doing at the beginning of the game. I thought that was really weird, but in all the right ways. Like, it just adds to that charm, because people keep saying, oh, Resident Evil's not cheesy anymore. It's lost that charm. I don't know where any of you been, but there's still cheese in Resident Evil. It's just different flavors. It's not the, the American cheese or the Swiss cheese that you knew back in the day. This is like different types of cheese, like Gorgonzola and all. Why the hell am I naming cheeses and everything? Anyway, the thing of it is, there's still a lot of cheese and a lot of comfort in this game and in the newer Resident Evil entries. And I think they do a really good job with that. I do. I really do feel that they did that really well. The actors that have come together to play off one another did a pretty damn good job. And just Ada's exploration of Separate Ways for the 7 chapters you get was great. And one of the big improvements from the original is that she gets to, actually, did she get to buy stuff from the merchant in the original? This is how much I didn't really play that much of Separate Ways even back then. I don't remember, but she gets to go to the merchant and she gets to buy all the stuff. She gets to upgrade her weapons, which is again, something they didn't have to do in this mode. They could have just let it be Ada picking up some guns here or there and hope for the best when you go off into the world. And I think they did a great job with that. I mean, the fact that she actually talks to the merchant, which we've never really seen anybody do before, was a pretty nice little thing to throw in there, in my personal opinion. So we go on to look at other things that this game has to offer, and there's 7 chapters, and most of the chapters can be beaten within an hour or a little less. I think I clocked in about 5, almost 6 hours during my first playthrough of this game, and to be honest, like, it was really an incredible playthrough for me. I was not bored once the whole time. This was just as fun as the main campaign, and when you give DLC that gives you that, it's absolutely amazing and makes you want to go back and play more of it, because there are unlockables, and the challenges that Leon gets given by the merchant in the first game, well, they're here now. Ada gets to have her own ones where, like, I remember one of them, I was like hunting the bugs out in the battlefield. They were all like somewhere, and I had the scope to, you know, see their heat signatures and such, and it was pretty interesting part, honestly, for them to include that in. Again, they really want you to keep playing this game multiple times, and to be honest, I do want to go back and play this again because I want to beat the time that I got before. And saw IGN saying that it was short, like 4 or 5 hours. Dude, I don't know what you are talking about, but it was definitely not a 4 or 5 hour game, okay? It's like 5, 6, 7 hour game. And you can't forget, going back and playing this game, there is replay value to this game. There is a lot to the replay value, and there's different difficulties to play it on, which add for the challenges that Resident Evil has always been known for. Playing on different difficulties is something that I truly do love in Resident Evil. It really pushes the player to themselves, and I think kind of adds more to the game when it's not just, you know, okay, here's a harder difficulty, go with it. No, there's like strategy that needs to be put into it with these games, and it's absolutely amazing. The rest of assignment, sorry, saying assignment Ada, like, I'm recording this, it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning, so I apologize. But I really do love what Separate Ways brings to the table, because there's really no new interaction with Leon, I feel, but one of the things that was really funny was when Ada goes to save, when she goes to save Leon from getting choked out by the chief, and then she goes inside the house at one point and goes out the door. She's the one who gets choked by the chief and like tossed like Leon did. If you go back, like where he just like, you know, sucker punches you and stuff. And oh my God, like for me, that was so cool to see that. And then you had to run from him because like you couldn't fight him. I learned that the hard way, even though that was kind of what happened in the first game. And I love that. I love that we get to see Ada's whole story, like, throughout this, like, what she's doing. Like, we got to see that in the original, but I think there's more depth and more weight to the seriousness of her mission now. And it's shown, they changed things up, that Krauser is not with Wesker and Ada in this. He's on that, that solo vendetta to get back at the United States government for what happened during Operation Javier, which apparently they've changed a lot of. Now, we don't know exactly what that mission was, and it seems that Leon may have or might not have been there. A lot of people are like, well, he's talking about the platoon, and Krauser was the only survivor of it. I was like, yes, of Krauser's platoon, but Leon was probably there as, you know, someone who, okay, I've dealt with bioweapons before, the government's sending me in with this crack commando unit, and in Resident Evil fashion, every crack commando unit gets destroyed in some way, shape, or form with like 1 or 2 survivors. So, you know, we don't know the full story, and I really hope we do someday. I really hope there's a DLC, like a new Dark Side Chronicles type stuff that they could do for this. I think that DLC would be absolutely amazing for them to do. I think they'd have to make it a whole new game at that point, though, because there's a lot to do in Operation Javier, and since you're changing things up, yeah, again, it was just great. It was great to see Krauser, like, you know, like, there was like this new stuff happening, and Ada never technically crossed paths with him, even though she was on a chase for him. So I'm like, oh, okay, so we're probably still gonna fight him, right? Because I didn't want to fight him after Leon beat him. I think, especially the way that Resident Evil 4 went, the original, it would be really pointless for Ada to fight Krauser this time around because of the seriousness of the story in this version. And they didn't. Like, at one point, she kind of just gives up chasing Krauser and goes after and does more of her side missions. And then we got to talk about the fact that Wesker actually shows up about, like, what, 2 times out of the whole game, or 3, was it, or something? It was 2 or 3. This dude just shows up. I'm like, he's actually allowed to leave that room that he was in? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, I was like, how close are they to this island? Where is he? And also, how the hell did he get to the island? Like, was it a boat? I mean, we see at the end, like, what he's on and stuff, but the way things go and the fact that Ada betrays Wesker, which we kind of assumed that she did anyway after Resident Evil 4, but we actually find out that near the end of the game, Ada actually did something to the computer to where only about 50% of the island was destroyed. So we actually don't know how much of the Plaga survived, the Amber, because in other Resident Evil media, Lost Plaga still exists in some way, shape, or form. And then Resident Evil 5 happens, and, you know, it was assumed that, you know, Wesker got, you know, the Plaga for Ouroboros back in the day from Ada or some way, shape, or form. But this one, they've kind of like completely changed her up to where she's like, yeah, like, we're not giving him this shit. So it's going to be interesting to see where they got that from. But Krauser's body was shown at the end, and Wesker's got this whole like spiel, and it looks like it could bleed into a Resident Evil 5 remake, which I think a lot of people are asking for. I mean, everybody's asking for that in a Code Veronica remake. I made a post about that, and people are really sold us. And Capcom, if you're watching this video or watching our tweets, understand that there is a market for a remake of Code Veronica and RE5. I've explained that in past videos and everything, but Separate Ways just gives you so much fun that you loved in the first main game, right? And then during Ada's story, I mean, fighting with Sadler is actually a lot of fun, and the U3 fight in this, you know, it was insane. And that's like one of the things I love about this too, not just like the boss battles you come across, because El Gigante was a tough one, but I felt like I didn't get a lot of ammo in this game, right? Like in this mode, I felt like I wasn't getting as much ammo as I did in the other one, and boy, was that scary, because when I came across El Gigante, I literally beat him with just the knife or something like that, because I was actually, funny enough, I was throwing grenades. They were landing on his back. It was awesome. It was so funny, like, that they actually landed on his back and stayed there. I love that. And then, like, the U3 fight, I thought it was just where it was, and then you go into that second one where he burrows underground, and it was nuts. It was really crazy to experience that battle in that way, and I loved it. And honestly, I was running out of ammo. I literally killed it with the knife at the end of the thing, which is something that in Resident Evil games, I've never really been a knife person, unless it's Code Veronica, because that thing is so damn deadly. But it just, to me, they did so much good when it came to this game. They treated not only the fans with respect, but they treated the franchise with respect, because sometimes when DLC gets tossed out, it's bleh, it's not that good, it's not great, or it doesn't really do anything for the story. But this kind of did, and now it's got everybody wondering what's next. I mean, I don't even want Resident Evil 9 now. I want a 5 remake, and I love Resident Evil 5. As much as I am an old schooler, I was there at the beginning when Resident Evil 1 came out. I loved the original Resident Evil 5. I did. And a lot of people were kind of like, really? I thought you liked the older ones more than this stuff. I was like, well, I do, but like 5 knew what it was and did it right. That's what people gotta understand. 5 knew what it was, and it was kind of perfect in that sense. But I would love to see what they do in the future for this series. And Separate Ways was just absolutely amazing. I felt it was a little bit more of a challenge. I was bummed out, however, that there wasn't a shooting gallery for Ada to go to visit, because she had to buy the charms that you get from the, you know, the machine and such, and I kind of missed that shooting gallery. I wish that she had that. It's not gonna like decrease my rank on this, because this game is still like, this game mode is still a 10 out of 10 for me. But I really do feel that that would have been nice to have. But again, you know, you got to utilize what's in the game to make you go faster, get used, like, you know, like interesting item drops and more item drops and all that kind of stuff. It's really, again, like, I was all over the place with this game, and I just loved it. And I also want to say, it's interesting that the U3, when you fight it originally, it infects you by the little spike that came out and injected Ada with like a plaga, and it seems to be kind of different from how Leon and Ashley's worked, because when she beat U3, she coughed up that little thing, and, you know, I was like, oh, well, that's how she got it. Oh, okay. I thought we were gonna have to go and she's gonna get the laser treatment or whatever, but they didn't. But it was cool. This thing gave you like illusions, and all the stuff around you started to change and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I'm getting Hookman vibes from this. They're throwing in a little Resident Evil 3.5 for us, and I really appreciated them. Because like they kind of did that in Resident Evil 2 Remake, where like you get bit by a zombie and the marking stays there. That was in Resident Evil 1.5. So was the shooting gallery, like the gun range from 1.5 when it made it into RE2 Remake. It never made it into RE2 itself, the original RE2, but I appreciate them throwing in little things like that and Easter eggs here and there. like Easter eggs in the series. And I'm gonna end this and say that Separate Ways is worth the $10. And if you don't think that it is, you obviously don't know how game development works. You all thought that this should have been included when this came out 6 months later. And the original Separate Ways, when it was released on PS2, was actually 6 months later as well. People got to understand that Capcom isn't the same company that they were in the early 2010s with their bad DLC practices, like with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, re-releasing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in an ultimate version like 5-6 months later. There's a lot that has changed with the company, and they seem to understand, and this leads me to believe that we're kind of on the right path for what Resident Evil is going to be in the future. And I can't wait. And I honestly... before I forget too, the Mercenaries mode. The added characters of Wesker and Ada, and then Ada gets another outfit, and Leon gets his pinstripe outfit, his Mafia outfit. Mercenaries has become absolutely insane. Okay, it has become so much fun to play with these new characters. It breathed life back into the mode, because the mode sadly was lacking at first. But overall, it's really fun. It's a really fun mode, and I really hope that we can get a full-on Mercenaries game at this point, because this mode proves why we need one even more so than ever before. So, Separate Ways, the Mercenaries, which, was a free update for those who don't know by now. You gotta love that. Free was great. $10 for a 7-chapter, 6 to 7, 8-hour DLC mode. Just perfect. It was all absolutely perfect. But you've heard what I've had to say about this mode. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, because I really have seen a lot of good about this game from people, and I just want to keep seeing and hearing the good things about it. So with that being said, please thumbs up and subscribe, because it's free. And this day and age, free is a damn good thing. As always, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm One Big Boss, and I will see you all next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you could give this video a thumbs up and a share, helps the channel out big time. Give me a follow on Twitter and Discord, where I'm most active. Links down below in the description. Also, I stream on Twitch, so if you'd like to see me play a bunch of new to retro games, well, click down below, give it a follow, greatly appreciate it. Till next time, guys, be safe, and have a good one.